He knows that. He did some good things tonight. I really believe that. I think he remained calm and remained steady throughout the game, regardless of the circumstances, and that's the most important thing. So, but I like this process. Heading into the week, he did a good job, and I thought, he's got to continue. We got to play better around him. All those things to be fair to him.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Cutler. Honored and pleased to be with you. Thank you so much for joining me, whether it's live or tonight on podcast or tomorrow on a podcast or listening anywhere in the world on the ESPN Sports Lexington app. There's a lot in that Bush-Hamden comment. That was from after the game when UK destroyed themselves and then got destroyed by South Carolina. Now, what he's saying is Cutler perhaps did a better job than you think. And I make no bones about it. I want Cutler to do great. Well, I want all kids to do great, but I really like Cutler a lot. So, I wonder if somebody says, well, he's just pushing because he likes him. Well, no, that's not me. He had a bad game, but it wasn't as bad as you thought. Now, I do know there were many times wide receivers were not open. I do know many times that the offensive line, after that first series, how much did they create room for running backs? So Cutler had a bad game, but he didn't have nearly as bad a game as I think it looked like. I believe that. Bush is telling you that. That is what he is telling you. And Stoops has said this a million times. You got to play good around your quarterback. And they did not. And that amplified it. And I wonder what Cutler would look like if he played behind the Alabama offensive line. And I was really disappointed in the offensive line because they brought in all these kids. I think they're wonderful young men from what I've seen and heard. They have a ton of experience. Was Kentucky number 4? Whatever it was, they're in the top 5 for starters on the offensive line with most experience. Now, if you have a lot of experience and you stink, that really doesn't do you any good. I'm not saying these guys stink, but I am saying there's a fine line with that. And no, I did not expect this to be the best offensive line in the country, but I expected to be much, much, much better. And I said that many times. And I thought they stunk against South Carolina. That was me. Now, that doesn't mean they won't be better against Georgia. The tackles had some issues, and Stoops even kind of admitted to that. Whether it's technique or being not physical enough, I don't know. Let the coaches decide that. You can tell when somebody's just overrunning you, that kind of thing. But I thought the line stunk, and I'm sorry. It just did. In spite of that, the line is still much better than it was yesterday, and they need to play much better. And I'd like to see whether it's Cutler or Ishkabish playing quarterback to get a fair shot. And I don't think Cutler got a bad shot, but he's the quarterback. And, at times, that old cliche that I buy, that sometimes the quarterback gets too much credit when you win and too much heat when you lose, which gets us to the Bengals. We're going to jump up and back a little bit. They suck. They just suck. They quit last night. They absolutely quit. My only regret is I didn't bet the game. I mean, they do not think they can win. And I believe that. And I saw that. By the way, 21-3 at the half, they're down to Denver. Do you know that the Bengals had more penalties in the first half than first downs? Ooh, that's unbelievable. Here's a quote from Chase. Urgency is there, man. It's just you got to want it. At the end of the day, we got to want it. Today, it didn't look like we wanted it. That's a quote. Today, it didn't look like we wanted it. The Bengals sucked. As a matter of fact, they could end up being one of the worst teams in football. I think they're on their way. And Zach Taylor had a group that looked disorganized. It looked like they didn't want to be there. And Denver looked like a team that's well coached. And I love Bo Nix. And I got to tell you the truth, he's much better than I thought he was going to be after I watched him in college. His accuracy is unbelievable. And they've got a good defense. Denver's a nice football team. Bengals suck. Did you see the numbers? I mean, this is like pinball numbers. Denver had 512 yards. Bengals had 159. That's so bad. It's absolutely, unequivocally ridiculous. Ridiculous. I'm excited about tonight. Yankees play, Reds play, back to back. I'm going to watch a ton of baseball tonight. I'll be excited. Got to mention a really stupid question asked to Tito Francona, and man, he handled it well. And Jimmy, I saw it too late. It was after 11 a.m. I wasn't going to send it to you, so I'll just paraphrase it. So there's a question about the rotation. Look, Green starts the first game, and they had it set up perfectly since they got in, and that's smart. That's smart. But Nick Lodolo, who's been wonderful, is not one of the three starters. And Tito basically said, look, we had to use him on Sunday, so therefore we don't want to use him. Okay? So Abbott will start the third game. Okay? If there is a third game. So it's Green the first game, Zach Luttrell the second game. And so this young reporter, I'm assuming young, sounded like a young voice, and it could have been an old guy asking what I think is really a dumb question. He said, did you consider about using a bullpen game for game two? Bullpen game? You do a bullpen game when you don't have a starter. You do a bullpen game when your starters suck, right? You don't have one or they stink. It was really insulting because Luttrell's done a nice job. Actually, last time he played against the Dodgers, 5 innings, 2 hits, 4 walks. And so this young person says, Luttrell, you suck, and I'm going to question the manager as to why you will actually pitch him as a starter in the playoffs. And I get it. In the press conference, you should be able to ask any question, but you should have some common sense. You know, sometimes reporters don't have common sense, or they're not watching. Luttrell's done a nice job for the Bengals. He's been a nice Bengals for the Reds. Been a nice pickup. No question about it. Is he Cy Young? No. Is he an all-star? No. Was he a good addition? Yes. Yes. And the way it worked out, I see why he did it. I'm not shilling for Francona. And at times, I got to tell you, sometimes reporters ask really good questions, and sometimes you're going, do you know what you're saying? What the hell are you doing? By the way, this is a tip that came from Marty Brenneman. He told his son, Tom, that Francona turned down one major league managerial job this past offseason because he didn't think he had a chance to win there. And Marty said, and Marty and Tito were close, that Tito turned down another job when an organization said they would get rid of their guy if he was interested. And by the way, that ploy has been tossed around before. Like, we don't really want to fire a guy unless we know you will take the job. And I am not surprised Tito turned the job down. I would turn it down too. Like, hey, you want it on your head, you help get a guy fired. Now, if a guy gets fired and they call you afterwards and you know nothing about it, that's open season. Come on, give me a break. But this happens more than people realize. It really does. And it doesn't get reported much. And it takes somebody like Marty to get information. And I'm assuming that Tito's not upset that Marty said it in their conversations. That also tells you that Francona actually believed he had a shot at winning at the Reds. That's what I read it. And I stand by this. What he's done with culture in 1 year in the Reds clubhouse is absolutely remarkable. Some of the moves he makes, I scratch my head. But he has literally turned that team into believing in themselves. He has literally turned that team to be what a great relief pitcher is supposed to be in the ninth inning. You better have a short memory. You know, the line for a pitcher in the ninth inning, don't get beat on your second best pitch. Well, what Francona does, and I've seen him say it many times in interviews that I've heard during the year, it's like, that's tomorrow. Talk to me tomorrow about that. This is today. I can't look that far ahead. And he's drummed that in the head of these players so much, they've really bought in. And that's a credit to Francona. It's also a credit to the players, because a lot of managers say the right thing and the players just don't buy it, or they kind of shuck it off, or they went, okay, or they're buying a little. These guys have really bought into his philosophy. He's kind of got some magic about him. Seriously. Seriously. And I'll tell you this. Nobody in their right mind is going to pick the Reds. Okay? I get that. And it's the Dodgers. And if the Dodgers sweep, no one will be surprised. But I want you to think for a second. Go back to 1990. Jimmy, were you born? Probably not.
Almost.
I like that almost. The Reds swept the A's, the big bad A's. I'm not going to say this is going to happen again. And who was the favorite? Not the Reds, okay? The Nasty Boys. Man, they had a bullpen. And they had a tough team. They were definitely tougher. And the short series, they were definitely much better than the A's. They swept them. I'm just saying this. This is a long shot. But the back of the bullpen right now for the Reds on the winning side is pretty darn good. Okay? And Green tonight is going against a great starter, Blake Snell. You know, Snell is 5-4, Green is 7-4, but their ERAs are spectacular. Snell's is better, 2.35. He's had an amazing year and he's a clutch pitcher. And Green has an amazing year also with his ERA 2.76. This is a heck of a matchup. It really is. So even though you can say the Reds snuck into the playoffs, and I really don't buy it. Granted, they lost and they got in that way, but that's the way it was. Be nicer to win, but to me, there's been too much negativity. Well, they had to have somebody else lose to get in. No, that's the deal. They actually won 2 out of 3 against Milwaukee, and they've been lousy at Milwaukee. And Milwaukee just set a record this year of most wins in the history of their franchise. And I love what Milwaukee did. They put up a congratulations sign after the game on the big scoreboard that the Reds went out. That was really classy to do. Matter of fact, I will forget that. Milwaukee, they might be a small town and a small franchise compared to New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, but I always keep on hearing they really try to do the right thing. What a classy thing to do to put on your screen and say congratulations. I loved it, by the way. And so did the team. And I got to tell you, general manager of the Reds should send the general manager of the Brewers a nice bottle of wine or something like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I was just, what a classy move. So the point is this. The Reds pitching staff has improved exponentially. I really like their bullpen, and they've had a couple days off. I'm not saying it's the best bullpen in baseball, but pitching-wise, the Reds are closer to the Dodgers than I think they're being given credit for. Should the Dodgers be overwhelming favorite? Absolutely. Do upsets happen in the playoffs? Absolutely. The Dodgers have a lot more pop and power? Absolutely. But this is the playoffs. And those that follow baseball, many of you know, good pitching often stops good hitting in the playoffs. So we'll see. Green going tonight. I think it's at 9 o'clock. Jimmy, is that what it is?
Yep, 9 o'clock first pitch.
Every pitch will be right here on 1300 AM and 92.5 FM. The Yankees are before, so after I work out, I'll have my feet up, have a cup of tea or a cold one, and I'll be watching baseball. This is interesting. A hat tip to Justin Rowland. I took it from his Twitter account. I did not know this, so give him some love. He does our show every now and then. It's good guy and good reporter. He puts out, in March of 2024, UK Athletics reported 22.8 million in basketball ticket sales compared to 19.5 million for football. For comparison, he puts up, Ole Miss reported almost 1.9 million in basketball ticket sales. 1.9 versus 22.8 for Kentucky. That's crazy. And by the way, it's not like Ole Miss plays in this old jalopy place, okay? Kentucky reported more than 10 times the basketball ticket revenue sales of Ole Miss. Jimmy, does that impress you as much as it does me? That's crazy. On the one hand, Ole Miss is not even selling $2 million worth of tickets. And by the way, I wouldn't expect them to send 10, but 2 million? That's nuts. All right, one of my deep throats sent me this. And I found this interesting. And Jimmy, I want your 2 cents when I go through this, okay? Joker Phillips was a disaster here. Sad, but it's true. I like Joker too. Last 37 games, Joker won 13, lost 24 for a winning percentage of 35% for his overall record in his last 37 games. The last 37 games for Mark Stoops, 16 wins and 21 losses, a record percentage of 43%. Here's where it gets even closer. SEC record. Joker was horrible. Last 24 games, he won only 4. Woo! Rounded up, give him the benefit of the doubt, that's 17%. Stoops, in his last 24 games, has won 6. That's 25%. That's horrendous. Now it gets worse. It gets worse. Joker, in his last 12 games at home, had a better, although awful, record at home. He won 4 out of 12, so he was 4-8. Stoops, hear this out, folks. Stoops, in his last 13 Southeastern Conference home games, has won 2. That's a record of winning 15%. 15%. And there are some other numbers, top 25. It's all close. It's all close. And look, salaries have changed. They have. Joker last year made $1.7 million. And I thought Stoops made more than this. I thought he was at $9 million now. So I don't know if maybe that's the average of the last 37 games. I'm not going to do research or quibble with, but I'm saying it says his annual salary is 8.6% over the last 37 games. And by the way, recruiting, they had Joker on that list as 45th over the last 37 games and Stoops 28th. Jimmy, does it look like Stoops is much closer to Joker than we're giving it credit for? Does it look that way? And I got to tell you this, you weren't born yet. Let me throw one more thing at you, you youngster, you. The last couple of years with Joker, it was bad. I'll never forget his last year when they played Vandy. Jimmy, you and your 2 friends would have amplified the crowd. It was unbelievable how few people showed up. As a matter of fact, everybody went in the press box. Anytime you went in and went, okay, we kind of thought he'd get fired, but he's definitely fired. Not showing up is the best way to get a coach fired. It usually is. These numbers, as a guy who's not from the state of Kentucky, but as a guy who knows football, take your emotions out of it because you don't really have emotions, and that's cool. And I like it better that way for this argument or debate. This is absolutely horrendous by Stoops, yes?
Yeah, and when you look at the numbers, and the numbers kind of amplify what Big Blue Nation feels. There's not a lot of positivity around Mark Stoops now. And then you see numbers, and numbers can't be construed one way or the other. They're hardline numbers. They are what they are, and they are ugly. And that's eye-opening. Even, I didn't think it was that bad. But then when you look at those numbers, that doesn't bode well for the future. It's not an upwards trend, we'll say.
You're right. Sorry for stepping on you, Jimmy. So I'll look at it this way. I thought it was really bad, but now when you look at it, it's actually worse than I thought. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Worse than I thought. Oh, worse than I thought. Did you know this? Have I missed this? There was a story in the New York Times, which is really athletic, that Paul Feinbaum is considering leaving ESPN to run for the U.S. Senate seat in Alabama. Have you seen this anywhere?
I just saw it this morning. Had never saw it before that.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I sent it to Lynn Martin and Collie if they knew or something like that. No, I saw it last night for the first time, and I went, wow. Now, Feinbaum is smart. First of all, he's a smart man. He's smart because anytime I've heard him, he stays away from politics. And in the article, he basically says if Trump asks him to run, how could he turn him down? This hit me like a ton of you know what. You know who'll kill to try to get that job if he leaves? Matt Jones. Can you imagine running Matt Jones promos on our station? Hey, it happens. I remember when the guy, his name was Hefner, who hired me at KDK, and he was a news director. He went across town, I believe it was it station manager or general manager? One or the other. It was a big step up, but he went across town to the competition and all that kind of stuff. So, Jimmy, have you heard these stories? To get back in the building, to get like his sunglasses and stuff like that, they wouldn't let him in the building. They had somebody from management literally walk him in the building, meet him at the door, unlock the door, walk him in the building, go down the elevator with him, go into his office, watch him pack his stuff, and walked him out of the building. Have you heard those kind of stories?
No.
Oh my gosh. One that was amazing. At 700 WOW, where I worked, Paul Doherty, they had him do the 6 o'clock show. Doc was a really good columnist. And I didn't like him at first on the radio, and he kind of grew on me. He really wasn't a radio guy, but he had a realness about him that I liked, and he got good. And I told that to Paul, and I applaud him. And he had really good ratings, but they were chopping people. I was part of that chop. And they chopped Doc. And, you know, they did and nobody was mad at Doc when they fired him. It wasn't one of those kind of he did something acrimonious or something. They were just cutting people and cutting salaries like a lot of stations do all the time. And they did the same thing to him. And Doc got along with people in management, did his job, did his show. I really thought he had a nice future in radio if he wanted to continue doing it, and he didn't. But that's neither here nor there. Same thing. Guess what? Put his stuff in a box. Sorry, I forgot part of the story. Jimmy, what they did was, in his last show, they literally walked him out of the building. The way I understand it, they told him after the show and walked him out of the building.
Wow.
And he wrote a column about it, which I don't blame him. He goes, what was I going to do? What was I going to do? And by the way, I will slightly defend management because it's a corporation and that's a corporate rule. So if you're in management and you don't do it, you get in trouble. So sometimes it's you want to yell at the messenger or stuff like that. It wasn't, the way I understand it, the people at 700 WLW, but it was a corporate thing. What's he going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to break things or something like that? It's just funny how people get treated at times. It's nuts. I need to set up the show probably before 12:30. Dear friend who's done the show, I think 3 or 4 times, Kendrick Haskins, sports director, Wave TV. Really good buddy and does a really good job on TV. He'll be joining us. And then Adolph Rupp III will join us at 1:15. Now, Chip has been at practice, but we're not allowed to ask him specifics about practice. I think we can do something like generally, and then we'll talk a little basketball anyway and a little football and stuff like that. So I think he's excited from what he saw, and I think he's going to tell us that, but the specifics we can't get. One or two more things. I haven't done monologues like this in a while, and I like doing this. I don't know why I don't do it more. I need to talk to the boss. That's me. You know, Jimmy, what do? You got to criticize yourself. It's my decision what I do, right?
Yeah, it's like you're having a meeting with yourself now on the air.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is free form, right?
Yeah.
You figured that out a long time ago. Did you see the Major League attendance and how it's gone up, by the way?
I haven't seen the final. I know through the season, like at the All-Star break, it was the highest it had ever been. Not ever, but in a long time.
Yeah, listen to these numbers, okay? Now, and I really believe in there's a lot. What is my dear friend Hal McCoy called the commissioner? Rob Manfred? Is that what he calls him?
Manfred,
yes.
Yeah.
I love it when he does that. You know, so much of Rob Manfred, what he does, I can't stand. But, you know, and my partner in Cut to the Chase, Dr. John Wong, who, by the way, got a check from Amazon this month. People are still buying and reading Cut to the Chase. Thank you so much. A story about my career in life. But one of the things that Dr. John Wong respected about me is I can not like someone, but say, okay, but this is something good this person is doing. And I wish more people were like that. Not because I do it, but because you be open-minded to suggest and understand that not everything about a person you don't like is bad. Sometimes they have good ideas. I love it, and I've said this a gazillion times, that the pitch clock and it's shortened the games and all those kinds of things. All right. Viewership. Fox, up 9%. Would you say that's pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. FS1, 10%. ESPN, you ready for this? 21%. TBS, 29%. MLB Network, viewing up 13%. By the way, I can look it up. Do you know what NHK is? I have no clue. That's what
no.
Anyway, whatever the heck that is, it's 20%. And MLB TV, there's MLB Network and MLB TV, that's up 34%. That's to me is a huge wow. No?
I believe NHK is a Japan broadcasting corporation.
Oh, then you know what? I would be curious. I should have thought of that as a guess. You probably already looked it up. You are fast on HK. You know what? I'd be really curious, seriously, how NHK improved since Shohei joined the Dodgers. Because I bet the spike the first year was ridiculous. The second year was close to ridiculous. Because one of the things that I talked about when Shohei got that contract, that basically the Dodgers got him for nothing. And if you're just hearing me now, you're saying, what the hell am I saying? It's true. They basically got him for nothing. When you consider all the things that they're getting money back from. 700 million. It's a fraction of that they're paying for Shohei. Then they got a great pitcher and a hitter, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, attendance, according to this, third straight year, there's been growth. People in the stands, third straight year of attendance growth, and that's the first time since 2007. That's impressive. And 71.4 million fans, that eclipses the 70 million mark for the third straight year for the first time since 2015, 16, and 17. That's, to me, very, very, very impressive. And since I decided to do a monologue today, I didn't get halfway through it, Jimmy. Are you surprised?
It's kind of back to how it used to be.
Hey, the commercial is to talk about Subaru, and I'm going to do it, but I got to mention to you, we just purchased our third car from Quantrell. It is a Volvo, and my wife is in love with it. In love with it. And I got to tell you, we had about at least four people worked to help us in different ways, driving cars, this, that, and the other, and they were great to me. And they're really, really nice people. And their thing is they want people who work for them who want to come to work instead of saying, oh, I got to go to work today. It's really an unusual dealership. I trust the Quantrill Auto Group. 3 cars, right? And what a deal. Check out the Outback. It's a heck of a car. You know that. Come in from Danville or Cincinnati or Louisville or any place in Eastern Kentucky. As people listening all over. And I know you have Subaru dealers in other places, but these folks really take care of you. 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out for 72, it's 1.9. What a deal. 0%. The Quantrill family of dealerships. Right place to get your next Subaru. And they promise to get you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks. Kendrick Haskins coming up next. My buddy. Lord knows what we talk about. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
I'm Kathy Bingaman. Over the holiday, there was an attempted fraud attack. My personal banker, Mary Rose, and I networked together. And the first thing that I thought of was I have to text her. And it was just within the next few minutes, there was an entire team that came together collectively. And that's just not the type of service that you typically get from your bank.
That's Kathy's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru. The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal. 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quattro family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Damn, Seth, Hack, corn dogs coming in for the blitz.
Rick, what are you doing?
Brent, I'm practicing my snack plays for the next football game.
Well, in that case, Uncle Rick, stop by any Fudge Stuffing Shop and pick up 5-hour energy shots, 2 for $4.99, or Uncle Ray's potato chips, 8-ounce bags, 2 for $6.
Don't get sidelined without your supplies this football season. Clark's Pumping Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
The dream was this was a UFC fight. Dana White, president of UFC's here. This place is packed just like this with 1,000 people. And I get there and I look up, we're dreaming. And the headliner event, the main battle, Kelsey versus So you see stuff on social media and things like that, and heck, man, that dude's a competitor. I'm a competitor. He's the head coach of one of the best programs in the country, so am I. We compete on the court, we compete in recruiting, we go at it. But you know what? There's honor among thieves. We really respect each other. I think Marco is one of the finest human beings in coaching, world-class father, world-class husband, and I still want to take his face off when we play.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM in this corner from Louisville with his head shiny, shaving it this morning with a whole lot of something on top of it. It is shiny and sweet. Kendrick Haskins, light heavyweight, known for the hard right punch. On the other corner, it's Alan Cutler, way too old, way out of shape, and probably going to go down in the first round to Haskins. Hello, Kendrick of Way TV. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. You look great.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you been to the eye doctor recently?
I haven't. That might be it.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with it. Hey, I thought this Kelsey sound was great. What did you think?
I did too. He's just poking fun at it. And I do think these two have a general respect for one another. I'm sure the dust up was probably made more about it than actually what happened. And so he's just having fun with it.
So you do think something was probably said and they probably fixed it and, as you suggested, hugged it out or something. So, when I first saw this, I don't know about you, but I thought it was phony. I mean, I thought it was AI. I mean, with all the crap going on, come on, how many times do you look at something? I know you do, and you're going, I better check this before I put this on TV. I don't want to get my fanny
all
in
the
trouble.
time.
Yeah.
All the time. Even when I'm pretty sure it's accurate, I'll still accredit it to whoever I got it from. That way, if it's wrong, well, I said they said it. I didn't say it. So
I'm supposed to do that anyway.
But sometimes you can just say like UK schedule comes out before UK
different.
Puts it out.
But,
but
that's different. I'm still poking at you. That's different.
I know.
Well, but it's making the honest reporters seriously now be fairer to the people who break stuff. It's really the fair thing to do. That's why. Yeah. I took something from Justin Rowland today. I didn't no idea about it. It was really good stuff. I said it was Justin Rowland who does a really good job. I've always done that. And I think that's the right way to handle yourself. And I think those that are honest, if people are smart, and I generally think people are smart, not all, they can see that, okay, this person is being fair, giving that person credit, and they're giving it to them one way or the other. And you've had this. Well, why didn't you check this out? Well, you can't check out something that comes out of Denver or say there's not enough time in a day, and nobody's going to pick up the phone or answer your text, right?
Right. Because we had to deal with that a couple of weeks ago for the Louisville game when the two running backs were hurt going into the game, And a lot of people were, why didn't the local media tell us this before the game? And I'm like, because we have one press conference and it's on Monday. If they got hurt on Wednesday, we're not going to know about it. So it's one of those things where people realize like they're only going to give us what they want to give us.
Right. And there could be a press conference on Wednesday and they're not going to tell you anyway.
Right. Exactly. Especially when it comes to injuries. And now that they have to do the injury report, they can even be vague on that and just say questionable. And so it's one of those things you just got to take what you can get.
But it's your fault because you weren't snooping around inside of practice like how ridiculous. Wait a second. Do you talk to players after Monday, or is Monday the last day you can talk to coach or players?
Monday is it.
Wow. I wonder if Kentucky's going to copy that.
I think they have somewhat. I think they make their players available on Tuesday. They do Stoops on Monday and the players on Tuesday. They used to do a Stoops on Thursday, but they haven't been doing that this season.
Well, no, they did. They cut it off during the season, and I was always amazed they didn't cut it off years ago because he never says anything. And it's short, and it looks like he's like going to the dentist he'd rather do. I really thought, no, I've been retired a long time. I thought the Thursday thing was going to go away when I was still doing TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get it. No, what they do, they have an offensive day and a defensive day.
Right.
So the coordinators talk and their side of the players will talk. So players will actually talk for 2 days. You get stuff through Wednesday now. And that's fair, but that doesn't mean that'll continue. And I can see the day happening where they do interviews for you.
Oh, yeah.
Which
Louisville's kind of doing that kind of stuff already. They put out their own stuff. We don't really talk to them. We've talked to Kelsey once since the season ended, and we got Michael Brown once since he's been on campus, and that's it. And so we don't get much access anymore.
Is Michael Brown going to be a superstar?
It looks like it. It looks like he's ingratiated himself with the community. He's already done some charity stuff, and
good for him.
Nice. He's from the one time we talked to him, he seems like a really nice kid.
Okay, I mean, let's put it this way: he could carry any team that had enough around him to the Final Four. Oh my gosh, how could you say it in Lexington? But really, the kid is that good.
Yeah, they look good enough on paper. We'll see how it all comes together. But on paper, they look like they could be a contender.
Now, who was the guy in New York who said this, which I thought it was obtuse? John Fanta. The hate between Kentucky and Louisville is back because of what's with Pope and Kelsey. No, I think the rivalry will be back because they're both on paper really good. I think that's what it'll be. And I can see how Pope and Kelsey might never be best friends, but I honestly believe that they respect each other. Do you buy all that?
I totally do. And it's great for the rivalry because even in football, it's like, when are both of them good at the same time? It's rare.
In football?
In both basketball and football. They're rarely good at the same time.
Really asking a lot, isn't it? Now, I want to throw a theory your way, and I'm not starting anything. It's human nature. Now, Kendrick, in the day you were a competitor, and you still are in TV. You have friends in TV, but you're a competitor, which was 6'10". Do you think he accidentally would have ended up in a headlock put on by Pope in the Kentucky-Louisville game? Give me a yes or no.
No.
Okay. Lori gets to ask another question. Is he going, why am I agreeing to do his show? I can't believe it's the last time I ever do it. If you're a competitor, but Kelsey's a hell of a competitor, and Pope is a hell. The truth is, I respect both coaches tremendously. I really do, tremendously. And if nobody doesn't like that, you know how I am. I don't care. If you were put in a headlock because you were short and somebody was 6'10", and then you have a second incident that is probably getting blown out of proportion, and then 1 and 1 equals 2. If you're Kelsey, you don't forget the headlock. You just don't. Come on, you've always been straight. We've been friends too long. Would you agree with that?
I agree, but I do have a caveat.
Oh, wait a second. I couldn't hear the first 2 words you said.
I think he may think about it.
I think it's human. And by the way,
it's human nature.
It's human nature. The
thing is, I don't even think at the time it probably bothered him because we also have to look at the stature of the two guys. Kelsey's head is right about where Mark's elbow is anyway. so it may have not even been on purpose. He may not. I don't think Mark Pope purposely put him in the headlock.
Whoa. And I'm not suggesting that either.
Yeah,
I'm really not.
And I think that's probably how Kelsey looked at it too. But then you see the picture over and over and over again. So yeah, probably deep down in the back of his mind, he thinks about it.
Okay, if Pope was 5'10" or whatever Kelsey is, and Kelsey was 6'10", and there were social media pictures that went around like crazy of Pope being a headlock with Kelsey, he wouldn't like it. If I was 6'10" and put you in a headlock and you were 5'3", you wouldn't like it, and vice versa. It's just human nature. In other words, I'm not blowing up to be a Kentucky Louisville thing. It's a human nature thing. Now, a second thing occurs, and last time I checked, I was really good in math in first grade. 1 and 1 equals 2. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, probably, but the thing is we won't know. We'll hear more from Pope than we hear from Kelsey. So
they would never tell us the truth, and I get that. And they're both going to blow it off, and they'll both be fine. And this is not going to. This is nothing like Calipari and how many people can we pick? Patino.
I know.
This is not Calipari.
It's not Cheney.
Cheney. It's not Calipari and some UConn coach. It's nothing like that. So I want to put it in its proper perspective. I don't think you should totally blow it off. But to me, honestly, it's not a big deal. But I think it's something you talk about because this is sports talk, yes?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what we do.
Okay. So how good is Louisville in football?
I think we'll learn a lot this week against a good Virginia team. To me, the verdict is still out. I was impressed with the way they came back on Saturday because honestly, going into that game, I was like, I don't know about this team, but I was impressed with the way they came back, the way Miller Moss played in the second half of that game, and especially for them to come back with the running game not being what it has been so far this season. So I do feel a lot better about them, but they're going to get a serious step up in competition with Virginia, and then they have a bye week, and then they play at Miami on a Friday night when they come back from that bye week. So we're going to learn everything in these next couple of weeks.
And that's fair. And I've always believed the obvious: quarterback amplifies you tremendously, at times more so than at times is given credit for. And sometimes quarterbacks get too much credit, too much blame. It just depends upon the circumstances. But this Miller Moss, when he decided to go to Louisville, my first thought was, and it hasn't changed yet, if this kid turns out to be, here's that dirty word, live up to his potential, Louisville has enough around them. You tell me, 100 times more about Louisville than I do, but I've done, I read stuff. Louisville has enough around him that if Miller Moss turns into a star, you wouldn't call him a star yet, would you?
No.
Okay, but if he turns into a star, which is possible, that takes the Louisville program to a huge another level, yes?
Yeah, because when we came on before the season started, I said really he just has to be average. He doesn't even have to be a star for them to compete in the ACC because of what they have around them with that running game and the receiver with all the receivers they have. He only had to be average. If he ends up being a star, which I think that performance in the second half of that game can be a springboard for him. If he's a star, then you're talking about competing for an ACC championship and possibly the playoffs.
Interesting. By the way, how many good receivers does Louisville have?
They've got Bell and Lacey right off the top of my head, and they've got a couple of other guys that are starting to come on board that haven't quite heard a lot from yet, but they will be. But Chris Bell and Colin Lacey are, especially Colin Lacey. Colin Lacey is a Sunday player. He will play in the NFL.
Okay.
And Chris Bell has the size to where he's going to get plenty of looks in the NFL. So he's got a couple of guys out there who will play on Sundays.
Well, guess what? Little brother should share with big brother because Kentucky's wide receivers are not doing a good job. They did a good job getting open last week. And I'm not ripping the kids, but if you have a reputation of not throwing the ball, why would a great wide receiver come to Kentucky?
I've wondered that for years.
Yeah, I've said it for years too. Yet he has a reputation of running, and he brought in 2 studly transfers. I mean, I credit the transfers. He brought in running backs, but why would it, unless you're from the state of Kentucky and they left state of Kentucky, why would a good wide receiver come here? And that hampers the quarterbacks.
I've wondered that for years when they went just last year when they had Brown and the kid from Lexington,
Key.
And I was like, when they both of them committed, I was like, why? What are they being sold that makes them think they're going to excel in this offense?
Key is a local kid.
He's a local kid. I get
And,
it.
and you, it's before your time. Did you interview his dad? Probably that's before your time.
I don't think it was before my time. Anything from 98 on.
I don't remember when his dad graduated, but his dad was a really good player here. They're local, really well liked, and so he grew up around Kentucky. So I can see that, that part. And I can see why he left.
Yeah,
and he's doing really good at Nebraska, and that shouldn't surprise.
It also surprised me that he went to Nebraska. I'm like, what are we doing?
That did surprise me. That absolutely surprised me. And I wonder if they sold it. They got a young quarterback who should be a star, and therefore you're coming in at the right time.
Right. We have the Patrick Mahomes clone, so maybe, but
I was surprised too. Of all the places to go to, I really thought he would go to not an offense that's like mummy, but I mean an offense where they throw the ball a lot. Right. And there's probably 10 or 15 programs that are really good programs, top 30 programs that he could have started it right away in Nebraska. Nebraska wouldn't even been in my top 10. I don't know if it was the money or maybe he liked the coaches. I don't know. I can't answer it. But I was baffled by it too.
Yeah, that one surprised me. Barry Brown going to LSU, yeah, that makes sense. But Dan Key going to Nebraska was surprising. But he's playing well, so maybe he did make the right decision for him.
Fair or not fair? Van Hiles, who does a show a lot, disagrees with this. Christian Alt, I think he was probably before your time, who does a show all the time. He's really good, agrees with me. In a way, I thought Kentucky got punked against South Carolina. Is that now? Everybody's got a different definition of punk, so yours might be different from mine. Do you think that's true? Do you think it's not true? Do you think it's too strong? Do you think it was something else? What's in the mind of Kendrick Haskins, my buddy who's kind enough to join us, who does a hell of a job for Wave TV in Louisville?
Maybe a tad bit strong, because once you get outside of that second quarter, the game was fairly even.
But the game was over.
It was on 2 plays. So I'll give them a little leeway that maybe they weren't punked just because it was just one snowball of a quarter. If that stretched over the game, if we had that same score, but that the scoring stretched over all 4 quarters, I'd be like, yeah. But it really was just one bad quarter that sank them in that game. So I won't say they got punked in that sense quite yet.
Might have been the worst quarter I've ever seen in Kentucky football.
I'm sure there's been worse.
I can't remember. And now, could I have forgotten something? Yeah. And I ran this by a couple of people who've been around a lot, and they said the same thing. Now, it's possible I forgot. But 21 points to give up like that in one quarter, on pace for 84 points.
Yeah. But they settled down. The defense settled down. And, it could have been a lot worse. We've seen that get out of hand a lot worse than it did, not just with Kentucky football, just in general. And so the fact that it didn't get up to 40, 50 points, I will say they didn't get pumped.
Yeah, but South Carolina has no offense.
No.
They got that. It's amazing. They got a kid that's going to play in the NFL, and they have no offense.
Yeah, no. South Carolina is just a head scratcher. And also you can't say they get punked because they did rush for over 100 yards. And so if you got punked, you're not running the ball either.
A lot of them were early on in the game. McGowan ended up with another really nice game. Did it bother you? Here's my theory, and this would go Kentucky, Louisville, South Carolina. I don't care. So when one of your kids, if you're a fan of the particular school, does something, you have a tendency to blow it off. But somebody does the same thing to you, you go crazy. Bah, 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 bah. When Seth McGowan threw the ball in the end zone, which he said he slipped, and it ended up being Seller's grandfather, which I did. Who knew? But you figure it was somebody that had to be important or whatever because of the seat that they got, in the chair he was sitting in. If somebody did that, Kentucky sports talk would be going crazy. I don't care what school it was about that kid doing it, but because Kentucky did it, you're really not hearing much about it. What I liked is McGowan. I was going to rip him like crazy. But I saw the tape, and we used it, how he apologized. And it seemed very, very, very sincere. And I know he had the problem where he was almost in jail for 70 years. That doesn't mean he has no leash. If you've changed your life, and it looks like he obviously has, and I applaud him. If everything he's been saying is true, I absolutely applaud him. So when he apologized, I kind of blew it off. But I'm surprised, and I read some South Carolina sites. They made him out to be Genghis Khan.
Right.
And it was really awful how some of the South Carolina people then talked about him, even though I thought it was really bad too. But I accepted, if you apologize, you apologize. And it was very sincere. I don't know if you thought. You see the split between fans. Well, you did it to me. Well, we did it to you, so it's not the same.
Yeah, well, we're living in a time when people love to be fake outraged. They're not that mad. But
you really think?
Yes.
Interesting.
Because he got out in front of it. He apologized immediately.
He did.
That's a celebration that you see all the time. He wasn't throwing it at him. The ball just got away from him. But you see people throwing the ball at the wall all the time on touchdowns. It's a simple accident. He got out in front of it and apologized. As soon as there was a microphone in his face, he apologized. We just live in a time when people love to be fake outraged.
And by the way, I thought the fact that he apologized in a really classy way.
Right. And that's why and that's why you're not hearing about it on this end.
But on Sunday, as a lot of people do talk, I don't know who does talk shows in South Carolina. Let's put it this way. Had somebody done it to Kentucky and the Kentucky fan hadn't seen the apologies, they'd be going nuts in sports talk in different stations on Sunday. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the way of the world. Okay, this is nuts. Reds play tonight. Dodgers deserve to be the heavy favorites. There's no question about it. I actually really like the back of the bullpen for the Reds. The winning part of the bullpen, they've got like 4 guys now. It's really sets up nicely. You got Green, who's a stud. He's going against Snell, who's a stud. Green's ERA is 2.76. Snell, who has more experience as a big-time guy, he's been one of the best pitchers in the last 10 years, as you're not in your ideas, has a 2.35. Good pitching stops good hitting. Dodgers hitting is so much better than the Reds, and so much more clutch is not even funny. But if Green has a great night, I'm not saying the Reds are going to win the series because they shouldn't. I'm saying they have a better chance tonight than I think some people think.
I agree. I think they could still win tonight. Hunter Green's going back home. I mean, he grew up just around the corner from Dodger Stadium. And so I'd give them a puncher's chance tonight. Now, do I think they'll win the series? You'd be crazy. Because with that Dodgers staff, just from top to bottom, they're just loaded. They're basically an all-star team that basically punted on the regular season. They just got bored, I think, during the regular season. My coworker, Dusty Baker. Yes, his name is Dusty Baker. So of course he's a Dodgers fan. He's been stressing about this team all year, and I just keep telling him they're just bored. They're just going to get through the season. And I totally think they're going to turn it on in the playoffs. But I do think the Reds can go in there and at least steal a game.
Well, they have to be able to turn it on in playoffs. And look, if they get down a game, there'll be a ton of pressure on the Dodgers, don't you think? Just like I'm throw this way, there's a ton of pressure on Aaron Judge. I love the Yankees, but he has stunk out the joint in postseason. And if he stinks this postseason,
especially in this series,
yes, and goes over, it'll be nuts. I think there's more pressure on Aaron Judge today than any other player in baseball, and maybe more than any player in at least the last 10 years. And as calm and cool as he is human. Do you think it's affecting him?
I do think it affects him to a point, but it's one of those things, but it also can end up serving as motivation for a guy like that. And especially because the pressure is going to be on him anyway, but especially when you factor in who they're playing in that opening series against the Red Sox, he's going to have to perform. But at the same time, if he doesn't, it's not like they're going to trade him. And so he'll be back in a Yankee uniform next season, but he does have to perform. It's been more because of the opponent. If the Yankees were playing like the Blue Jays or something like that, I don't think the pressure would be on him as much. But it's because it's the Red Sox, it amps it up that much more.
What will they call him if he goes 0 for this time?
They're creative up there. They're creative. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, but they are extremely creative up there in New York.
By the way, no politics. This is big breaking news. Let me just say it's not sports when I say it. Trump says a government shutdown is coming, which I expected, but he's now saying it.
Yeah, we saw that coming.
No politics, just saying it is breaking news.
Yep.
Okay. Kentucky basketball. I actually believe the hype. I really do. Tell me I'm nuts.
No, I won't tell you that.
You've been telling me that for decades.
I know it, but on this one, I don't. I believe the hype too. I mean, I'm excited to see them. I'm excited for media day on Monday. I mean, they're going to be a really good team, and just really and truly, just based on that, you have a leader like Oway coming back. I mean, that means the work is what wins in an NCAA tournament, an experienced backcourt, and so you've got that kind of experience coming in with that kind of young talent. I believe the hype on him total.
Yeah, and Oway's still not 100%, by the way.
He will be when it counts.
I assume that.
I can see, because actually, to be honest with you, I can see them struggling out the gate just because they do have a ridiculous schedule to start the season.
That's okay.
So I can see them struggling a little bit out the gate. But I think by the time we get to around January, mid-January, I think this team's going to be rolling on all cylinders, and they're going to be really good.
Plus, by then, Yelovich will be comfortable in the system. Plus, by then, JQ will be, you would expect, playing
back
20, 22 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And plus, you would think Oway would be 100%. Look, I have complained about wimpy schedules that Kentucky's played forever. I don't think they should ever play a soft game unless it's an in-state game and you're doing a favorite, and you can do a couple of those. Other than that, you should never play a tough game. I like what UConn is doing. They're trying to set up Kentucky, North Carolina, and a couple other names like that for home and homes. Look, I would rather have a record that isn't as good, but play one of the top 3 schedules every year. It will also help in recruiting, because this is no disrespect to Western Kentucky or Eastern Kentucky or Murray, who they never played, which is amazing. I remember years ago when I did that story.
Thing in the world.
You know what? I was a kid here, and somebody told me that, and I didn't believe it. And I literally went back in the Kentucky basketball yearbook going, oh, I'll find it. And it's just not there. Now, I know for a while, I don't know for how long, Murray wanted a home and home.
Yeah, I was going to say, it goes both ways, because Murray, for some reason, wanted a home and home with Kentucky. And like, why would Kentucky ever go to Murray?
He would never do it. Matter of fact, honestly, it was dumb of Murray of insisting that.
All right. And the thing is, if they did do it.
Wait, I'm interrupting you on purpose, but I want you to answer. I wouldn't even, if I'm Kentucky, do a 2-for-1. In other words, if for Murray come to Kentucky twice and Kentucky going to Murray once, I wouldn't do that either, would you?
No, the closest I would do would be Nashville. They're playing in Murray. I wouldn't play in Murray. Why would they do that? Even though if they did play at Murray as somebody who graduated from Murray, it would be a home game for Kentucky. But again, why would they do that? I don't, and especially when Murray is played at Louisville and they haven't requested a return game from Louisville. It never has made sense if that was true. I never got confirmation that were true, but I've heard it enough to believe it. But that is weird.
Never asked for a return game from Louisville?
Louisville's never gone back down to Murray, but they played up here plenty of times.
But I know Murray's played at Louisville plenty of times, but you can request it, they can say no, and then you do the deal anyway. But they've never requested that, as far as you know.
Not that I'm aware of.
Wow. Why would they try that on Kentucky?
I mean, Murray's weird. I love my alma mater, but they are weird, because they should be playing Western Kentucky every year, and they don't. So it's weird.
That's a natural game. Just like Western and Eastern should play every year.
Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense. Okay, what's the number one thing on your mind when it comes to sports right now, Kendrick Haskins, that you just go,
being a lifelong Cowboys fan. Just
Kendrick, I'm sorry for your loss.
I hate this team. I hate them so much. Even though they played to a tie, and it was a great game, and Dak played his tail off. Dak played as good as Dak has played. But that defense is so bad. They are the Bengals if Burrow was still there, because the defense is that bad and the offense is that good, and it's just annoying.
How long have you been a Cowboy fan, and why the hell are you a Cowboy fan?
I've been a Cowboy fan almost all my life, and part of the reason why is because I had an uncle that was friends with Too Tall Jones when I was a kid, and so I became a Cowboys fan.
I can see that. Headline just crossed in USA Today. Danny Hurley pretty convinced. That's not convincing. That's a quote. He'll coach college basketball until retirement.
I'm done hearing from him. I was glad they didn't win it last year, so he could go away a little bit, and so hopefully he can take on.
If he came to Kentucky, would that have been a disaster?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, because he's swaggy Cal times 1,000, and I don't think Kentucky fans will have enough patience for that.
If he won big, they would accept it. First of all,
Of course they would.
It's 100 times better that Pope is here.
Yes.
But, when people said my comeback is, you know what? If he goes to 2 Final Fours in the first 4 years and wins a national championship, he's our guy. It's okay.
That's every fan base. But as soon as they lose, though,
boom. Yeah, his leash would be short.
Yeah.
Where you would anticipate that Pope has a long leash, and you never know, but I bet that leash never gets tight, because I think he'll recruit kids every single year that want to come here. And I just do. And this year is going to be a great test, because there'll be some kids, I don't care what they say to the media, are still going to play less than they wanted to. Some will accept it. Not everyone will. No one will say it, but I have to believe this is going to be an interesting test, because now when you recruit for next year, and let's say Jasper Johnson only plays 14 minutes a game.
I mean, they'll be used against him in recruiting.
Yes. But he's very convincing. He's very convincing.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I'd play for him if I were any good.
You'd play for Pope?
On a heartbeat.
Okay, who would you rather play for, Pope or Kelsey? Now, remember, Wave TV, you are based in Louisville, but you cover Kentucky and Louisville, and deep down, you're more of a Louisville guy because you're around them more, and I get that, understand that, respect that. Who would you rather play for? What a nasty question to ask you. Who would you rather play for, Pope or Kelsey?
Yes.
No, you can't. No, that was really good. Come on.
Yes.
Now, folks, you tell me if I'm wrong. I should have asked the question, and I knew you weren't going to give
me. You know where I live. It's like 60-40. It's that much Kentucky fans here.
If you really answer that question, it could hurt you in your TV career. Yes or no?
Yeah.
So I have to be a really bad friend for asking that question, don't I?
But I know who my friend. You know your teammates and you know your friends. But you expected me to be like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no,
I saying yes didn't surprise you.
No, I knew you'd be funny, and you were. I didn't know what your answer would be, and it'd be funny. All right. One, tell everybody how to watch you every night, and tell everybody how to find you on Twitter and anything that you're pushing, brother.
Just at Kendrick Haskins on Twitter. Just my name on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And of course, you can watch me on Wave News at 6 and 11 just about every night.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
Hey,
we didn't really make fun of each other this time.
I was about to say, did we get soft with each other?
I think so.
I'm really worried about both of us.
Oh, that's what happens when old age.
You joined my side, the dark side.
I know. I'm 50 now.
You're 50?
Yeah.
You don't look 50. That's the nicest thing I've ever said to you.
Well, my news director said the same thing because he's the same age as me. I was like, but really and truly, if I grew this out and had any hair, I'd look 50.
I can see that. No,
this is all gray.
There are some people that get away with, Kenny Rice was on the show yesterday. I love Kenny, okay? But he gets away with coloring his hair. And some guys get away with it. And some guys you're looking going, what the hell are you doing? I was one of those guys.
Rick Pitino's one of those guys.
Oh, absolutely. And when he sweats, that weave in the back doesn't look very good, does it? You would think somebody would tell him, hey, Rick, one of these days he's going to show up with a crew cut. It'll be big news, and 3 weeks later, it'll be forgotten about. But for 3 weeks, he's so self-conscious. Wouldn't that be funny?
At least somebody got to him. Remember, because it was red there for a little bit.
Oh, I don't remember that. It was red?
Yeah. You go back to like early last season, maybe a season before last at St. John's. It was getting red.
You think he did it to be for the Red Storm?
Who knows with Rick, though?
Well,
you know that.
Yeah,
it could have totally been an accident with Rick, or it could have been on purpose, but you never know.
With him, you never know. Hey, a couple weeks, hopefully I can squeeze a half hour of you again.
Of course.
Hey, man, it's always fun. And you know why I'm worried about a relationship?
Because we're getting soft on each
Yeah,
other.
you were being nice to me. It makes me uncomfortable in my own show. Get off my phone. Thanks, Kendrick.
See you, buddy.
You're the best. Jimmy, that's our typical conversation, except in the press box, there might be some words we occasionally might toss at each other that we can't say here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it was nice though. You set it up like a heavyweight bout and who's going to win, but it was more of just a nice sparring session between the two of you.
He's
Keep
great.
it cordial, no headshots.
And that's a good way of putting it. You know what's sad, seriously? And by the way, I have no idea who he'd want to play for. And if I asked him privately, I know what he'd probably say. He'd be happy playing for either one of them, which really makes sense if you think about it. I know every Kentucky fan would like to play for both, but if you're in Rhode Island, right? Would you like to play for either one? Or if you're a Louisville fan growing up in Louisville, wouldn't you like to play for Kelsey? I mean, it is what it is. But his career could be almost ruined by that. A simple little thing. If he goes on TV and says, I love Kentucky and I don't like Louisville. Oh my gosh. Or if he goes on TV, I love Louisville, but I don't like Kentucky. And by the way, are there media types in Louisville who really prefer one team over another? Absolutely. And I know it. But you can tell, but that doesn't mean they can't be fair when they cover Kentucky. And they're around Louisville more. I've never had a problem with that. I don't know if you do.
No, and I think that's what's hard with fans. Because fans try to insert how they feel into how the media should feel. Well, we're in Lexington. You should only cover Lexington. Like, that's not typically how it is, especially when you have someone who's not from here. Then you hope they get here, get a crash course on the rivalry, and figure out how to cover it, in a neutral stance. But I feel like more people in the media are that way, where it's like, yeah, I don't hate someone that's not from Lexington, that lives in Lexington and has worked with the news. They're not going to hate Louisville, and that they're supposed to be fair and unbiased.
There aren't a lot of people left in the media that are fair and unbiased.
No.
And you know what? I think that's sad. I think I'm unbiased as much as anybody behind a microphone. Am I delusional?
No, I don't think you're biased towards Kentucky at all. I mean, there might be some, like you've said, like Cutler Bolt, you get to know people, so you like them better, but you're not biased in a sense of you downgrade this person because you like this one more. It's just hey, I like this guy because I've met him and I've spoke with him and interviewed him, so I like him. So I might talk a little bit higher, but no, I'd say you're generally pretty unbiased.
Yeah, I mean, I root for Cutter. By the way, I've never talked to Cutter.
Oh, just his dad?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. I thought we might have had. No, I guess it wasn't Cutter.
No, we had Ty Bryant came in the studio.
That's right. Yeah, we've talked to him a couple
times. They're both great young men.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. And that's one of the things about this football team, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jimmy, because there's some really nice kids on the team. And I've said this for decades and decades and decades and decades. There were years when Kentucky really sucked, and a guy was a senior, like they're around for 4 years. And usually, like the last 2 years, if you became good, I ended up talking to you a lot more, a captain or popular player. And I can't tell you how many guys I would go to at the end saying, hey, thank you for talking to me when things were bad. These guys never ducked you. They never ducked you. It's easy to talk when you win. And there were so many guys from the past that I covered, really good dudes, but they played on bad teams. And some of these guys were really good football players. I mean, they really were good football players, but guess what? What are you going to do? First 22 often was good, and then they didn't have enough of the rest. I tell you what has plenty to help you out. Blue Lotus Health, 859-333-0914, 859-533-0914 on Versailles Road. Please use my name when you get an appointment with Ramon Carriega. Also, providing a licensed massage therapist. He has helped me not a little. He has helped me a ton. Blue Lotus Health, acupuncture, 859-533-0914. 8-0 for up the third, coming up in about 5 minutes. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
Down, set, hack, corn dogs coming in for the blitz.
Rick, what are you doing?
Brent, I'm practicing my snack plays for the next football game.
Well, in that case, Uncle Rick, stop by any Clark Stop and Shop and pick up assorted Reese's King Size Candy Bars, 2 for $4, and Sour Patch or Swedish Fish Egg Bags, 2 for $6.
Don't get sidelined without your supplies this football season. Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. The Quantrill Auto Group has a great deal for this month. Subaru! The Outback is special, so check this out. 0%. That's right, 0% interest for 36 months. And if you want to spread it out to 72 months, 1.9%. What a deal! 0% interest for 36 months. Don't forget, the Quattro family of dealerships is the right place to get your next Subaru, and they promise you the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
I'm Kathy Binkaman. Over the holiday, there was an attempted fraud attack. My personal banker, Mary Rose, and I networked together, and the first thing that I thought of was I have to text her. And it was just within the next few minutes, there was an entire team that came together collectively. And that's just not the type of service that you typically get from your bank.
That's Kathy's story. Now let's get to work on yours. Republic Bank. Time to thrive. Member FDIC.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5. WLXG Lexington. An LM Communications broadcasting station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Thank you to my old friend Kendrick Haskins. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Adolph Rupp III. Chip Rupp, how are you, pal? How you been?
Doing great, Alan. How are you doing?
For an old geezer, I'm good. Have to ask you this, and we have to set this up just straight out. Chip was allowed in practice, and the rule is you can't talk specifically about players, and we're not going to harp on this, but I am allowed through the basketball gods, I believe, to ask you just your general feeling of practice, what you saw. Did you like the enthusiasm? Did you like the athleticism? Do you think the guys were together, without getting specific? Because I don't want to be the one barring you from practice, and a deal's a deal, so it's all good.
Yeah, no, I was honored to have the opportunity to go yesterday and watch practice. Really love the energy. I mean, every practice that I've been to, I went to a couple back during the summer. The kids all seem to like one another. There's a great competitive energy and spirit in the arena or in the gym. And, the talent is unquestionable. I think the biggest question mark that remains is, I think they have us ranked with a number 2 portal class. I think, our true freshman class was, I don't know what the national ranking was, but there's a lot of talent in that room. It goes to probably 12 deep. But I think the intangible that we don't know yet is, how do all the pieces fit? Where does Coach Pope land on his, on his personnel that he's going to routinely use? And is the in addition to the competitive spirit, are they going to mesh like last year's team did? Because last year, even though the roster was put together on short notice, there was just a great team chemistry there. And I think it's still too early to tell whether that's going to exist this year.
Without getting specific, was there anything lacking?
Was there anything lacking?
I'm guessing you're going to say no.
No, they have all the pieces, and the incredible part of it is, I was watching practice and I was so consumed with how good we were. And at this particular point in the year, you're not seeing Otega Owe on the court or Jaden Quaintance. And honestly, those are bonuses, but you don't miss them. There's enough talent, even if they were out for a period of time. There are a lot of good pieces available today.
I'm really glad you put it that way. Everybody hopes that they're back 100% at some point in time. You would think Oweh probably quicker. But the point is this: Kentucky can be better. I'm going to be careful here, but I mean this. Obviously, I'm saying it. Kentucky can be better than last year if those two guys were out for a long time period and nobody else got hurt. I really believe that, because one of the things, for example, I think they're going to be able to do that Pope wanted to last year, we just couldn't. Not ripping the kids, but there were too many injuries. I think you're going to see a lot of times they're getting the ball across midcourt in 3.5 seconds, and all of a sudden they're pushing guys. The other team's going to get more tired. You can play more people because guys are going to get tired, and they're going to get more wide open threes because you can push the ball and that kind of stuff. There'll be long passes. I'm fast on purpose because I think that's what's going to happen. And if Oweh, you hope he's back for game one and 100%, and you hope JQ is back by Christmas time or afterwards. And if he's 100% by mid-January, I don't know anything, but to me with knees, if he's 100% by mid-January, that's a blessing for him first and Kentucky second. But if those two guys weren't around, I still think they can be a better team than last year.
There's no question, but I want to make sure that my comment is not taken out of context.
Okay.
Just because I didn't see them yesterday doing active things on the court in 5-on-5 does not mean that I'm insinuating that either one of them is going to be out for an extended period of time. They could be on the court today. So I just don't want it to be misrepresented that I have concerns that those guys are seriously injured, because I don't.
Okay.
With regards,
sorry, I want to stay on this for a second. In fairness to you, I didn't mean that. I wasn't inferring that. My thing was first of all, as you know, as a basketball player, they could be working out like crazy one-on-one on the side, with coaches and all kinds of stuff that we have no idea. I was not insinuating that, and I'm glad you said it, because it could have been misconstrued. So, Chip, thank you. I'm just saying my foundation, and then continue, is that I think this group is better than last year because they literally can get the ball across so much quicker, which will set things up. And I've said this from the get-go. I think they're going to be a better shooting team than people realize. I've been saying that forever. That's where I was coming from, and I think we both need to clear it up. You haven't told me squat, but I could see how you'd be concerned. Somebody, they didn't see him, so therefore, what is he trying to hint at? You're not hinting at anything. You were just being actually pretty blunt.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm doing that for the fan base because, I think people have speculated, and I've never seen a formal announcement regarding the nature of Otega Oweh's injury that he sustained back during the summer. What I will say is I saw enough of him yesterday. I have 0% concerns about the guy. Jaden Quaintance, same thing. I strongly believe that we will see him on or about the time frame that you indicated. Could be sooner, could be a little later, but we will see him. And, as I've mentioned to you before, I've had a couple ACL injuries when I was a player. I have zero concerns that he will recover from the surgical procedure to his ACL. The biggest challenge you have is getting it out of your mind. You recall the injury, you recall what you were doing when the injury occurred, and it's more of a mental block than a physical block. But physically, both guys look amazing. What they were doing in non-contact, they're incredibly talented. But as I said earlier, there's so many complementary parts. We have the ability to have foul trouble, a rolled ankle that causes someone to miss time on the court, and we're really not going to skip a beat. A lot of complementary parts.
Always said on Field of 68, because they interviewed him, that they kind of inferred that okay, you're out now. He said he's doing a little more than they want him to do, and this is like weeks ago already. And I think it was said to Oweh that, hey, if this were a game today, would you be playing? And he said, yeah. So, I'm paraphrasing, and we played the soundbite. It's something along those lines. So, and now it's a couple weeks later. So if there's not a setback, he's got to be closer to being back on the court. And I got to tell you, I think Kentucky's being smart. And I mean that to be conservative, because you look at Oweh, gee, does he look like he's in shape? Yeah. And he's probably in a pool or something like that. It's not the same thing as running, but I'm not worried about Oweh either. And I think they're being cautious. I'm guessing, and I think that's smart.
Couldn't agree more. He is physically, I think that he's about where he needs to be, but they don't need to fast track him. We know what he can do on the court. physically, his conditioning and everything is there, and he's working off to the side on that. I think they're being smart. They're giving other guys a chance to show themselves on the court because they know what they have there. No reason to push it.
Let's switch to a little football. Jimmy, I can't see you the way my screen is. Now I see it. Can you give me a thumbs up? You got the Bush Hampton comment. So Bush Hampton said this after the South Carolina game, talking about Cutler. I think it's a very interesting comment. We used it in the monologue, but I want to play it for you. I want to say something, and then I want you to go from there. This is Bush Hampton after the horrendous performance against South Carolina, talking about Cutler Bowley.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he really was. And so, for a young guy, he can't ride the roller coaster. He knows that. He did some good things tonight. I really believe that. I think he remained calm. He remained steady throughout the game, regardless of the circumstances, and that's the most important thing. So, but I liked his process. Heading into the week, he did a good job, and I thought, he's got to continue to grow. We got to play better around him. All those things to be fair to him.
Now, what I think Bush is saying when he used the word great for the first word, I think he's saying with a blank hitting the fan and things blowing up, considering everything, this is a young guy and he handled it all pretty well. I think that's what he's saying, one. And Cutler did not have a good game, but I also know there were a lot of times, I know this, that the receivers weren't really open, and I stand by this, and I'm not knocking these kids, but if you're a five-star receiver, not from the state of Kentucky, why would you come here? Yet Stoops was able to, his credit, bring in, I think, two studly transfer running backs because this is a running school. And so I wonder two things. One, if Cutler had better wide receivers, sorry, I'm just going to say it, would he have been better? And two, I was most disappointed with the offensive line because I get a lot of these guys are from New Mexico State and stuff like that, but they've also been around forever. Braun was like second team All-SEC. These are older men. They're mature. They want to do well. And even though some of them came from smaller places, they were in the, I think, fourth or fifth, whatever it was, in most starts. I didn't think it'd be an Alabama line. I still think it's a much better line than last year, but I thought they were terrible against South Carolina. And after that opening drive, all of a sudden there were no holes. They didn't help Cutler. That's what I saw it. So there's a lot of gloom and doom around as a UK fan, as a guy who's been to too many cold December games. How do you think as an avid fan? Did you play football in high school? I didn't think you did. Did I not know?
No, if you remember back, I was about 175 pounds soaking wet. They couldn't put any weight on me. They wanted me to play quarterback because I could sling it a little bit, but my parents knew that I would be one hit away from being out for the basketball season, so that was never a consideration.
I didn't think you played, and good for your parents.
No, I'm thankful for that. No, I'm in a bad spot with Kentucky football right now, Alan. I really am. I tried to be optimistic. 2 weeks ago, we talked on the air, and I was really encouraged that after the Northern Illinois game, was it North? No, who did we play? It wasn't Northern Illinois. It was Michigan, one of the directional Michigan teams, right?
You're talking about Toledo?
No, the game right before the off week.
Oh,
it was Northern Michigan, wasn't
it? I'm going blank on Michigan, but yes, go ahead.
So anyway, Cutler looked great in that game. I stated that I felt like the game had slowed down for him after
Eastern
a year
Michigan.
In the system.
Thank you,
Eastern
Jimmy.
Michigan.
I went blank. Jimmy's taking care of two old guys. Sorry about that, Chip.
Whew. But anyway, I really was disappointed in Cutler's performance. I mean, I think he was overwhelmed, but to your comments, I don't think he got a lot of help. I mean, that mature line with a lot of starts under their belt, after the initial drive or two, really did nothing to help him. And the thing that I struggled with Cutler was the interception that was returned. It was right off the fingertips. If you watch it again, I mean, that was actually not a bad pass. It was a little bit out in front of the receiver on the slant, but it was tipped and then it was returned. It was an unfortunate mistake, but he had recovered from the fumble, had a clear head, saw the receiver, and it just was a failed mission right there. But the football program is not trending in the right direction. And that game was nothing short of embarrassing. It really was. I mean, that's not a great South Carolina team that we played, and we were dominating all aspects of the game.
One of my deep throats sent me this. In the last 37 games, doing a comparison from Joker, who was a joke as a head coach. And I like Joker. I think he was a good assistant coach, but not everybody who's assistant coach is a good head coach. SEC home record. The last 13 games for Mark Stoops, 2 wins in 13 games, winning percentage of 15%. Joker's winning percentage, this is over the last 37 games of their career, last 37 games. Can't say career, Stoops is he'll hear it. Excuse me. Phillips won 4 of 12 for 33%. Phillips' record stinks. Stoops, 15%. Like, I knew it was bad, but this is much worse than even I thought. Really much worse. And their overall record in the last 37 games, Joker won 35% of his games, which is horrendous. 13 wins, 24 losses. Stoops is 16 and 21, 43%. And overall in the SEC, Joker was a joke. Last 37 games, 4 and 20. In other words, he didn't win a single game on the road. The 4 games he won were all at home. 16.7%. I'll be nice. I'll round it up to 17%. That sucks. And Stoops' record, he won 6 of 24 games. That's 25%, 6 and 18. This is I mean, it's bad. You know, sometimes when you have the feeling like you say you're in a bad spot, I think, Chip, I don't think you're unusual. I think you're pretty typical of a Kentucky fan, somebody who loves Kentucky. But sometimes when you look at the tangibility right in front of your nose, it can be worse. To me, this is much worse. To you, is this much worse?
Much worse than, what are you referencing?
Okay, much worse than I thought. Is this even worse than you thought?
Yeah.
As you're in a bad place, when you hear these numbers, does that push you more to being much worse? Does it not change you at all? Do you say maybe it's not as bad? Whatever is in your mindset, when you hear these numbers, and anybody listening who's a Kentucky fan, when you hear these numbers, do you believe listening now, or Chip Rupp, do you believe it's worse than you actually thought? To me, it was worse than I thought. I want to know what you thought.
Well, I didn't put the statistics like you did, but I was looking season by season, the records over the past 12 years that he's been here. And then to hear you put numbers to it, it kind of catches up with where I am. I mean, I'm really trying to wrap my head around while we're still doing this. You know, first 3 years were not great. There's a lot of disorganization, a lot of young coaching mistakes on the sideline. I think, you know, the perfect storm arrived after year 3, and we were able to up the talent a little bit. Mark was able to surround himself with some good coaches. John Schlarman was here with offensive line, really buying guys time. And then, you know, the pinnacle of his tenure came from, you know, in 16 and 17, we went 7 and 6. And then I guess the golden era was 18 to 21, where we had 2 10-win seasons. And that appears on paper, but if you look back, and granted we played it, so you have to get some credit for that. But in 2018, we had to vacate all those wins. So, you know, over a 12-year time period, we've had 4 really solid years, and the trend was poor before, and now the trend is poor afterwards. And I don't really, I don't see the passion. I don't see the preparation. The team. I mean, I was embarrassed by Saturday night. I really was. That just was difficult to watch. And I did feel bad for a young kid like Cutler stepping into a very difficult situation. And that could have gone one of 2 ways. He could have blown the lid off the place and been amazing, but I don't think he has the complementary parts that allow him to do that. And unfortunately, he ended up, you know, having a mistake with the fumble. I still do not understand how our big lineman, Pete, didn't fall on the ball. He looked like he was going to the White House for the Easter egg roll going after that ball. It was not like he was pouncing on it ferociously, and I don't know how he whiffed, and we lost that. And then the one really bad play that Cutler did make was, and it looked like a 5th grade flag football play, was when he threw the ball up, you know, and it was intercepted down the field. That was a bad play. But I don't think that determines whether Cutter's going to be a fantastic quarterback or not. He's just really green. I think he has confidence that he can try to make plays, and I just don't think he's surrounded with the talent that he needs to be able to do that.
I predicted a bowl game. I don't see how I'm going to be right. I do think Cutter can get better. I think we don't know the future. I really believe that Mitch does not want to fire Stoops for two reasons. A little bit because it means he failed. That is, I think, a little part of it. Another reason is because I don't have the wherewithal to understand UK's finances. I don't think in today's society any school has 38 million, and it's more than that because you have some assistant coaches you need to pay off, and that's not chicken feed. They got families and salaries too. Families are often forgotten about in this kind of thing. But I wonder, apparently they owe the Arkansas coach like 15 million. Still not chicken feed. But I really wonder, and I don't have an answer, so it's a query, that if Stoops was only owed 15 million and this train wreck from Saturday continues and they don't go to a bowl game, I hope they turn it around. But if they don't go to a bowl game, I have to believe without anybody telling me that there'd be tons more apt to buy him out at, let's say, I'm just throwing this number out there, Chip Rupp, 15 million and 38 million. Is that preposterous? It was just money? Or does that tell you something that really, if that is true, and again, I don't know, I don't have any inside sources, I have no idea. But if that tells you something, there are schools that keep coaches because they can't afford to buy them out. That's going on all the time, by the way. It just is. Anybody doesn't think that's going on, they got rocks in their head. And so if it was 15 versus 38, and you're just speculating, you're an educated fan, even though Rupp Arena has your grandfather's name on it, but you're around people and you probably know something about finances, not knowing the inside of finances. But is that common sense?
Yeah, it's common sense. I think you hit on it. I think Mitch is incredibly patient with his coaches. If you recall, I mean, when Rich Brooks was here and he went on to have a great tenure, but the fans were calling for him to be terminated after the LSU loss, I believe it was. And Mitch remained patient, trusted the process, trusted his decision, and Rich had the opportunity to turn the corner. That was at the early part of Rich's time period. This one's a little different because we've been there. We've seen the golden era of the Stoops era or the golden age of the Stoops era. And now I think the trend is down. So it's a little bit different situation. But I do know that Mitch is incredibly loyal to his coaches. He's incredibly confident in his decisions and he's incredibly patient. He's a man of great faith, which he's pretty open about. And I think he hunkers down and I don't think he really listens to social media. I don't know many people that have his ear to influence him, that the fan base is really in a bad way right now regarding the football product. And I think he operates in a vacuum. And I don't see that there's a pathway that he is going to exit Mark Stoops right now. I do think that, your projection of a bowl game is virtually impossible right now. And I think Mitch will have to wait out at the end of the year. But I don't see that there's an abundance of money around to exit it. So I think Mitch may be more heavy-handed in the postseason interviews with Mark and put down some mandates about things that he has to do. And I think Mark's going to have to be receptive to that, or this thing's going to come to a head. And I'm not sure where the money will come from to exit it.
See, I'm not sure the money will come from anywhere. And they had to borrow, $30 million for this new huge project that they're doing. Money's tight everywhere. It's not simple. I know what I would do. You ready?
Please.
I would simply say, your offense ain't working. I would say it nicer in a private meeting. I mean, there's respect. And this is just you and me talking like I'm doing my radio. And we have a choice now. You haven't been able to recruit a lot of really good wide receivers and keep them. Brown and Key left. I'm not saying it has to be mummy ball, which I love, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. But it has to be totally different. And if Nick Saban can switch on a dime, why the heck can't Kentucky change? And I'm not so sure if Bush Hamdan couldn't do it. I think he's hamstrung. And I think there have been other offensive coordinators that are hamstrung. Look at Liam Cohen. He's 3-1, and he's not backing down for Robert Saleh, and they got into a shouting match after the game. And I read a whole bunch of stuff on it, and it sounds like the Jacksonville coaches were smart enough to figure some damn things out, and Saleh didn't like it. And I could be wrong, and I'm not suing because I like Liam Cohen, and I could see Saleh getting upset. I'm not down on Saleh, or I think it was just a circumstance kind of thing. And then, guys will be guys and stuff like that. Plus, Liam Cohen is sticking up for his guys, and the guys in his locker room like to have it, and they're 3-1, and they're a big surprise. But I wonder if Stoops gave enough freedom to his offensive coordinator the way he does Brad White. I wonder. All right, let me put it this way. Tony Franklin told me on the air when he got the job at Auburn, they decided to, and he said he shouldn't have taken the job and it was his fault and whatever. He's very honest in blaming himself for stuff, and I love Tony and his honesty. By the way, they scored 54 points the other day, and his quarterback threw a touchdown pass with 16 seconds to go to tie it, and then his quarterback won in overtime. Tony's Tony. He should be at a much – I'd love for Tony to be the offensive coordinator here. I'm not knocking Bush Hamdan, but I know what Tony can do, and Tony at times adjusts to running. I'm going on a tangent. I'm sorry. Point is simply this. You have seen, this, that in years gone by, a football coach is on his way out and the AD says, fire your assistant coaches. That's how you can save your job, and you better hire these kinds of people. Let's say there were 5 people up for a job, okay, and all had to be offensive people that they picked, and you have to pick one. That's how Tony Franklin became the coach, and then they didn't want him there because they wanted a different style. Long-winded me saying, suppose if I'm Mitch Barnhart, I sit down with Stoops and say, Mark, here's the deal. The offense is changing. You don't have a choice. You can quit. That's being real direct, and that's fine, but I have final say-so. You don't have final say-so, and we're going to run a wide-open offense, and we're going to make this change early so you can recruit some kids in the wide-open offense and still run the ball, but this is not run first. This is not pound. Be physical, but this is not pound. I don't know why at this point, after all these disasters the last few years, and Saturday was a disaster, and maybe they can fix it, that the athletics director doesn't say, okay, we've done it your way. Now we're going to do it partly my way because I'm the boss. And you know this as well. There were basketball names that Mitch was told he couldn't hire. They weren't going to hire Bruce Pearl. I don't give a crap what anybody says. You know that. And so quietly administrations do things. You know that. So why can't Mitch say, if this train keeps on going like this, why can't he say, we're going to change, and we're happy to have you as the coach changing, but you have to change. And if you don't want to change, too bad. You can quit.
Well, that would make sense. I'm not sure. I can't really speculate on how Mark Stoops or Calipari's or any of the head coaches' contracts were structured. Mitch, I'm sure, has end of the season reviews. I just don't know how heavy-handed he tries to be into the process. I think he makes his decision, and once again, I'm only speculating. I don't know the answer to that, but I would assume that he has all the confidence in his decision, and during the review, he does not get that heavy-handed, but tells Mark or the other coaches that improvements need to be made in this area. I don't think it's going to be strong enough that Stoops would threaten to quit. I don't know if he has any exit opportunities based upon Mark's performance or compliance issues. I don't know if any of that exists. What I would do if I was sitting in Mark's in Mitch Barnhart's seat is I would see how Saturday goes. And this is a favorable matchup for us. We've competed very well against Georgia over the years. Their style is conducive to us performing very well. Now, the outlier is they're coming off of a loss, so they're going to be super motivated to salvage their playoff desires. So we're going to see the best version of them on Saturday. But if we go down there and have another uninspiring performance, I think you're almost in a position where you have to make a tough decision like we've seen happen at UCLA Oklahoma State, Arkansas. I mean, who would have thought that Hunter Yurachek would have done away with Sam Pittman in the middle of the year and put Bobby Petrino in as the head coach after, his transgressions? So anything can happen. But what I would do is I would probably make the tough decision to cut ties. I'd put Brad White in as the interim head coach to see if he has what it takes. And, maybe he would unleash a Bush where we'd see the best version of Bush. I'm still not convinced that Bush, although I hear he's a great guy, I don't know if he's a genius signal caller or not, but I would like to see the best version of him that's unfiltered by Mark. And you got Mike Hartline who's working with the quarterbacks. I'd like to see him step up his game a little bit, and that might be the opportunity for them to do it out from under the cloud of Mark Stoops lording over them.
Interesting. So you're even stronger than I am.
I'm in a bad way.
You're in a bad way.
I really am. I'm in a bad way because there was no competitiveness on Saturday. I mean, there really wasn't. The disparity in talent, the competitive juices, we were dominated on the field, and it was very difficult to watch. Do you not agree?
I struggled through the fourth quarter. The only reason why I continue to watch, and this sounds terrible, but I've said it before because I think I have to. I have to watch Kentucky. Most of the time, I really enjoy watching Kentucky, but it is my job, and I love sports. It was tough. Let's put it this way. For the years I was retired from TV before, it's almost 3 years I'm doing this now, which is interesting. Thank you, LM. I got to tell you, if this were 2019 or 2020, would I have watched the fourth quarter? Hell no. Just being honest. But I don't have a choice now. And so I wouldn't say it was painful, but it wasn't enjoyable, to tell you the truth. It really wasn't enjoyable. I felt for the kids. I felt for the coaching staff. Something. I think these are good kids, but I do believe the wide receivers had trouble getting open. I'm not shilling for Cutler. Cutler needs to play better. I do think Bush was telling you he handled this mess really well, being in a crowd like that. I would like to see Cutler when he has a fair chance. And then if he's not good enough, he's not good enough. I think he would be, but we haven't seen it yet. You've done this show dozens and dozens and dozens of times. This is the first time you've shocked me.
Why is that?
Because I didn't think you would be that strong.
Yeah, I hate to do it.
No, not because. But I respect your honesty. I respect your no filter. And here's the bad news, and then I am going to shut up. I want you to answer. I really believe, Chip Rupp, you're in the majority. I really do. I don't have any scientific research, or you can put a poll up on Twitter, and that's fine. But you know what? I know what I'm doing for a living for 1,000 years, and just because Twitter says something and people respond to it doesn't mean that's how everybody is feeling. I think too many people look at the Twitter polls. Oh, this is the gospel. Maybe and maybe not. There's a lot of people who don't use Twitter who have strong feelings one way or the other. Anyway, you just surprised me, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I do think, and Cal and I actually discussed this before he departed, before he made the decision to depart. I really believe by current standards, you have a lifespan at these universities. And even though my grandfather figured out a way to navigate those waters for 42 years, I think it's about a 10-year run. And you got to do the best you can during that 10-year time period. And then all fan bases are super fickle. They start to look for the warts. They don't see the good things, and it's time for an exit. And we see that time and time again. The days of Mike Krzyzewski staying where he did, Roy Williams for extended periods of time, it just doesn't exist. And so I think that's part of the problem. And so we're now into, I guess, season 13 with Mark. The other thing about it is, and Mark has always been very nice to me. Would I say we're friendly? We're not even that. I've met him a couple times, but he's been super nice. So I wish him no ill will. But his approach with the media, with the fan base, he's super defensive when people come at him. And so his personality really has not endeared him to the fan base. We've been okay with it because, over a majority of his time, he's had winning seasons. We've gone to bowl games. I mean, in Kentucky football, when you put up a couple 10-win seasons, that's something we're all thankful for. But it doesn't take much of a wrinkle when you're not a warm, affable guy to the media and to the fan base. Then when things start to go south, they go south really quickly. And I do feel like I have a finger on the pulse of the fan base. And this season, he's lost, barring a miracle in the month of October, with a couple wins over who do we have? We have Georgia coming up this weekend. We have Texas rolling into town, and then we wrap up with, is it Auburn?
Well, the schedule does not look pretty, but I stand by this. Complaining about the schedule, I'm really funny about this. When you complain about the schedule, everybody has a tough schedule. Georgia has a tough schedule. Vandy has a tough schedule. Did I just delete my schedule? I'm talking about this. I have it in my notes, and I must have deleted it, and I should have it memorized off the top of my head. I do not, but the point is, like, to me, it's going to be fascinating when they play Vandy. Vandy plays Alabama this weekend, and this is Vandy's way to get some legitimacy big time in their program if they can win at Alabama. They might not have two more wins. I
don't think we will. I don't see two wins on the schedule. But that being said, so I mean, I think the stars are all aligning for this. And other than the fact that we have this big buyout of the contract, people line up saying, well, who are we going to get? John Summerall's not going to come here. There are going to be better jobs available to him.
Sorry, did you say Florida?
Florida, but there will be others as well. And, I think he's limited in what he can do in the American Conference. I think he's done about all he can. You did see the disparity between that and what the SEC brings in the game against Ole Miss. So I think there'll be challenges awaiting him, but I don't see a pathway that he's going to come back here, even though he has some roots here. You throw around the name John Gruden. Maybe he wants to get back into the game so badly that is a fit. I don't see that that's something that Mitch would do. I mean, I don't think Mitch is going to take on the baggage from his past. That's just not in Mitch's DNA.
I'll give you I'm going to interrupt you on purpose. I'll give you 100-1. I'm on your side. 100-1. 100-1 that he will not hire John Gruden. Agree or disagree?
I completely agree. I think it'd be fun. I don't know how successful he would be, but I think it'd be fun. But where I'm going with it all is, that's why I would see what type inspiring performance we put together on Saturday. If it's dismal, uninspiring, just like we saw last weekend, then I think you're going to make the tough decision to make a change. I think there's a lot of buzz around Brad White. I think he's done a fantastic job on the defensive side of the ball. His name gets tossed around for making a move for maybe a head coaching job. Let's see what he has. Let's see what type of new energy he can bring in for the remainder of the season. And, it's basically a tryout. And then we'll be able to make an informed decision at the end of the season. And maybe we'll see the best version of both Cutler and Bush Hamden. So that's why I don't sit in the big chair, but that's kind of where my head goes.
By the way, I had to look it up because I figured I'd forget a team, and I forgot about Tennessee Tech. So I didn't have it memorized. Okay. But whatever. But at Georgia, Texas here, Tennessee here, at Auburn, who's really a hard luck team. There's a hard luck team in the Southeastern Conference. It is Auburn. I know nobody likes their coach, and they got screwed a couple of weeks ago, but they've been a hard luck team. Florida, Tennessee Tech, at Vandy, and Louisville. And I got to tell you, outside of Tennessee Tech, they're going to have to upset somebody. How about this? They will not be favored in any game the rest of the season except for Tennessee Tech. Wow.
Think about that Florida game. That could be one of the most painful games all season to watch.
Well, the question is who's coaching Florida?
That's what I'm saying. It could be one of the least watched games ever because they may have an interim coach. We may have a season that's gone down the tubes, and that is going to be an uninspiring game to watch. I'm going to tell you that.
Well, you know this as well as me. Christian Alt's coming on later this week, and I said, did they get punked? And he said yes, and then he said empty seats. And so the best way, as you know, to get a coach fired is empty seats. Last comment about UK, anything UK at all, it's in your cranium, anything about sports, the Reds tonight or anything, whatever's in your passion that we didn't talk about that's number one in your heart and your soul. Adolph Rupp III, what is it?
I'm excited. The Reds pulled it off. They got into the playoffs. Elimination baseball is always fun to watch, so I'm excited to watch all hands on deck tonight against the Dodgers. I think it should be fun.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think they have a better shot than a lot of people think. I really do.
I sure hope so. I think Tito did a great job with the hand that he was dealt. I hope this is the beginning of them getting better. If you look at that roster over there against the Dodgers, it's a stacked roster, but they're in a wild card game for a reason. So anybody can win this game tonight, and I'm looking forward to see Hunter Green bring it home.
Sir, I appreciate you tremendously. Thank you so much. Appreciate your honesty. Really strong. And I think you're in the majority, not the minority. Chip Rupp III, Chip Rupp III. That's terrible. Adolph Rupp III, Chip Rupp. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Thanks for having me. You guys have a great day.
You too.
See you.
Jimmy, you surprised?
With which part?
That Chip would, if it comes down to it, make a change during the season?
Yeah. I mean, you really, especially in college, I feel like you don't, unless it's like the Arkansas one everybody saw coming. That was the easiest thing to see after the way it had been going for a couple weeks. I don't think Stoops is there yet, but after this next 3-game stretch, who knows what the product looks like on the field. Not just the record, but you can tell just using your eyes, the eye test with the team. Has the team completely lost again? Because for the offseason, it looked like, okay, maybe the morale's back. They're going to be more disciplined this year. Will that keep going, or will that just dissipate?
Hey, don't forget, your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown could bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scored to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. Can you believe the Bengals are only underdogs by 8.5 to the Lions after they were so bad last night? Not giving advice. That is shocking how bad the Bengals are. We shall see. Not giving advice. Numbers will change. Wouldn't surprise me if the odds go worse. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being 10.5. Wouldn't surprise me. News customers, this one is for you. Bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code LEXSports. That's code LEXSports to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet, plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus, Kentucky only. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. Thank you, Kendrick Haskins. Thank you, Jimmy.